Continuing with interpersonal relationship, we are going to study the phases of interpersonal relationship. There are certain phases. The nurse-client relation is therapeutic, not social in nature. It is always client-centered and goal-directed. It is objective rather than subjective. The intent of the professional relationship is for client behavior to change. It is a limited relationship with the goal of helping the client find more satisfying behavior patterns and coping strategies and increase self-worth. It is not for mutual satisfaction, rather it is for satisfaction of the client. Phases of interpersonal relationships are the same as nursing process. You have studied the nursing process as assessment, diagnosis, planning, implementation and evaluation. Similarly, the interpersonal relationship has three major phases: the orientation, working and termination phase. They may be given different names under different organization, but the structure of the all the three phases is same under all the names given. The orientation phase correlates with the assessment phase of the nursing process. The identification component of the working phase corresponds to the planning phase, whereas the exploitation phase parallels the implementation phase. The final resolution phase of the relationship corresponds to the evaluation phase of the nursing process. So when you will study about these phases, you will come to know that these are quite similar to a nursing process. First of all is pre-interaction phase. The pre-interaction phase is the only one in which the client does not directly participate. Awareness of professional goal is important. So in this phase, we are not in direct contact with the client, but we are preparing ourselves and the environment for communicating with the client. The pre-interaction phase occurs before you meet the client. In this phase, you will gather information about the client. In this phase, the nurse and client do not have direct communication. You know about the client only through the papers, only through the documents, but you are not in direct contact with the client. In orientation phase, the nurse enters the relationship in the stranger role and begins the process of developing trust by providing the client with basic information about the nurse and the essential information about the purpose, nature and the time available for the relationship. First, whenever we come in contact with anyone, we first of all we introduce ourselves. We demand for the introduction of the personality in front of us. So it is also referred to as the introductory or the pre-helping phase. It is important because it sets the tone for rest of the relationship. So if you build the trust in the orientation phase, it will be easy for you to gather information from the client and to help him to heal. Orientation phase continuing, it begins when you meet the client. The goal in this phase is to establish rapport and trust. This phase begins with introductions followed by an initial exchange of information. During this phase, verbal and non-verbal communication occurs. If you remember, verbal and non-verbal communication goes side by side while communicating with the client. So you will have to check the words and you will have to check the gestures of the client, and you will have to check the congruence between the two. So these are the characteristics of the nurse-patient relationship. Working phase or identification phase. Next, this is the next phase. It is the planning phase. The conversation in the working phase turns active problem solving related to assess healthcare needs. Clients are able to discuss deeper, more difficult issues and experiment with new role and actions. So in working phase, you see, when we talk about the nursing process, we see in planning phase, we discuss different treatment options, we discuss different methods in which the client can improve. Similarly, in the working phase, we talk about clients' problems, we talk about their experiments, we talk about the possible solutions, and this is all about the working phase. Working phase focuses on self-direction and self-management to whatever extent is possible in promoting the client's health and well-being. It is the active part of the relationship. During this phase, caring is communicated, thoughts and feelings are expressed, mutual respect is maintained, and the honest verbal and non-verbal expression occurs. Key communication goals are to assist the client to clarify feelings and concerns. Next is the exploitation phase. Use of professional assistance for problem solving alternatives. Individual feels as an integral part of the helping environment. The principles of interview techniques must be used in order to explore understand and adequately deal with the underlying problem. Patient may fluctuate on independence. Nurse aids the patient in exploiting all avenues of help and progress made towards the final step. So we do in implementation phase, we work on the doing phase of the process. Similarly, in exploitation phase, we work on the methods in which the client can improve its health, his or her health. Termination phase. In the termination phase, the nurse and client evaluate the client's responses to treatment. It is similar to the evaluation phase of the nursing process, and explore the meaning of the relationship and what goals have been achieved. Nurses need to be sufficiently aware of their own feelings so that they may use them constructively without imposing them on the client. Patient drifts away and breaks bond with nurse, and healthier emotional balance is demonstrated, and both become mature individual phase. So in this phase, we have to check out the client response to the treatment options, and we prepare to terminate our conversation with the client. The termination phase is the conclusion of the relationship, whether at the end of the nurse's shift or on the client's discharge from the unit, facility or service. If communication has been effective, the termination phase prepares the nurse and client for future interaction. If it is unsuccessful, the nurse and client will have to work on it again. Interpersonal theory and nursing process. Both are sequential and focus on therapeutic relationship. Both use problem solving techniques for the nurse and patient to collaborate on with the end purpose of meeting the patient needs. So these are the similarities between interpersonal theory and nursing process. Like in assessment phase, the data collection and analysis occurs, may not be a felt need. In orientation phase, non-continuous data collection, felt need, define needs. Nursing diagnosis or planning, mutually set goal identification, interdependent goal setting. In implementation, plans initiated towards achievement of mutually set goals may be accomplished by patient, nurse or family. In exploitation, patient actively seeking and drawing help, patient initiated. Evaluation includes based on mutually expected behaviors may lead to termination or initiation. Resolution occurs after other phases are completed successfully, leads to termination. So, communication among healthcare professionals, as we have talked earlier, the interpersonal relationship is also between the nurse and other healthcare team members. Effective communication among the health professionals is as important as the promotion of therapeutic communication between the nurse and the client. For example, communication problems among healthcare personnel have been implicated as a cause of most client errors. Disruptive behaviors. What are the disruptive behaviors? The Center for American Nurses defines disruptive behavior as behavior that interferes with effective communication among healthcare providers and negatively impacts performance and outcomes. So the behaviors which interrupt the smooth working of a healthcare facility are known as disruptive behavior. The type of behavior is not supportive of a culture of safety. 3 common disruptive behaviors reported among nurses are incivility, lateral violence and bullying. What is incivility? It is usually described as rude, discourteous or disrespectful behavior that reflects a lack of regard for others. Sutton lists 12 common everyday actions that characterize incivility. That they include personal insults, invading personal territory, uninvited physical contact, threats and intimidation, sarcastic jokes and teasing, abusive emails, humiliation, public shaming, rude interruptions, two-faced attacks, dirty looks, and treating people as if they are invisible. These are all the components of incivility. Lateral violence, also known as horizontal violence, is horizontal hostility, are terms that describe physical, verbal or emotional abuse or aggression directed at RN registered nurse co-workers at the same organizational level. So people at the same organizational level, like a nurse with another nurse, a practitioner with another practitioner. It usually includes verbal and non-verbal rather than physical behaviors. Examples of these behaviors include undermining activities, withholding information, sabotage, scapegoating, infighting, backstabbing, and broken confidences. These are all the examples of lateral violence. Bullying is an offensive, abusive, intimidating, insulting behavior or abuse of power which makes the recipient feel upset, threatened, humiliated, or vulnerable, which undermines their self-confidence and it may cause them to suffer stress. The perpetrator is at a high level of authority, for example, nursing supervisor to the staff nurse. To be considered bullying behavior, it must occur repeatedly, for example, twice a week or more, and for at least 6 months, and be targeted at an individual who is unable to defend herself or himself. Bullying causes health problems for the target and hostile work environment that hinders effective communication and nurse retention problems for the organization. So you see, bullying is not a like we have said, lateral violence is horizontal violence. In this we can see it is not a kind of horizontal violence, but you can say the two people at different organizational level from higher to lower, the one at the higher rank abuses the one at the lower rank. Responding to disruptive behavior, American Association of College of Nursing Communication Standard for establishing and sustaining healthy work environments. Standards include skilled communication. Nurses must be as proficient in communication skills as they are in clinical skills. Critical elements for the nurse are skilled communicators focus on finding solutions and achieving desirable outcomes. Skilled communicators seek to protect and advance collaborative relationships among colleagues. Skilled communicators invite and hear all relevant perspectives. Skilled communicators call upon goodwill and mutual respect to build consensus and arrive at common understanding. Skilled communicators demonstrate congruence between words and actions, holding others accountable for doing the same. Skilled communicators have access to appropriate communication technologies and proficient in their use. So these critical elements are the same for a nurse, like we have studied earlier. What are the major characteristics of a good communicator? Nurses and physician communication styles include the differences between nurse and physician communication can make collaboration difficult. In general, nurses have been taught to be descriptive in verbal and written communication. On the other hand, physicians are trained to be brief, to the point, and focused on a problem. So you see, the nurses are as nurses are more in contact with the client, so they need to be elaborative. They have to explain all the procedures, all the methods to the client, whereas a physician had to be brief to the client during a short visit towards his client. He has minor things to discuss with the client, whereas all the other things are explained by a staff nurse. Therefore, they may become impatient waiting for the nurse to come to the point. One model called SBAR, Situation, Background, Assessment and Recommendations, provides a standardized framework for communicating important information. In fact, the Joint Commission and the Institute for Healthcare Improvement recommend the SBAR communication technique to improve communication and reduce medical errors. Early experiences in collaboration can do much to create better communication and teamwork in nurse-physician relationships. So there could be certain, you can say, certain discrepancies. There could be certain conflicts among the healthcare team members that may arise due to these issues. Emotional intelligence is the ability to form work relationship with colleagues, display maturity in a variety of situations, and resolve conflicts while taking into consideration the emotions of others. A nurse or primary care provider with emotional intelligence may be viewed as mature, approachable, or easygoing, and this may reduce the effect of you can say the nurse-physician relationship conflicts. Assertive communication promotes client safety by minimizing miscommunication with colleagues. People who use assertive communication are honest, direct, and appropriate while being open to ideas and respecting the rights of others. An important characteristic of Assertive communication includes the use of I statement versus you statements. The you statement places blame and puts the listener in a defensive position, and you should remember that while we have talked about the leadership style of nurse, we say that a good leader never blames anyone. He or she takes the responsibility to himself. On the other hand, the I statement encourages the discussion. Now coming towards the non-assertive communication, two types of interpersonal behaviors are considered non-assertive. They are submissive and aggressive. Submissive is when people use a submissive communication style. They allow their rights to be violated by others. They invite others to come and violate their rights. They meet the demands and requests of others without regard to their own feelings and needs, because they believe their own feelings are not important. Some experts believe that people who use the submissive behaviors or communication style are insecure and try to maintain their self-esteem by avoiding conflicts. For example, they avoid negative criticism, they do not want to talk about the disagreements and so on. In aggressive behavior, assertive communication is an open expression of ideas and opinions while respecting the rights, opinions and ideas of others. Aggressive communication can be blaming and delivered in a rushed manner, thus becoming ineffective and leading to frustration for the nurse and the primary care provider. So in this lecture we conclude that communication is essential wherever there are people living in and working together. Interpersonal relationship is also an important factor in our day-to-day communication, especially in the field of nursing. Considerable thought and attention have been given to the subject of interpersonal relationship. Nursing is a caring profession, and basically the primary role of a nurse is to render on effective harmonious relationship to the patient. So both communication and interpersonal relationship are both sides of a coin. So success for you is in the new global and diverse workplace requires excellent communication skill. Thank you.